This is my custom built 400ex with a xr650l motor in it. I couldn't really find anything to help out when building this bike on the internet. There's a few things, but nothing like someone just building a sleeper 400ex. So I pretty much did this all myself over the past year when I was home from work. And I want to go over some of the things that have to be done to get this motor into the frame. That way, maybe somebody else can build one too. But first off, you had to cut on the back side of the motor right down underneath here. There's a motor mount. I had to cut that off because it hits the frame here. Looks just like that, but I cut it off. And then these bars here have to come off too. They come way back here at an angle and they hit the motor real hard. So just change the angle, added in 2 support bars and connected them there, and then put a motor mount there. And then back here, found a piece of tubing that fit the swing arm bolt and came up and made a bracket there for that. And then on top, which you can't see, but I have another factory frame, I had to cut them off and flip them and switch them. So these will be faced the other way, and they fit good if you flip them around and put them on the other sides. And pretty much put them back, like you'll see where you'll have a weld here and here, and you flip them, the welds will line back up. I weld them back on and put that bolt through there and held the motor, you know, and you can kind of adjust it. I had to make your bushings, your aluminum bushings that go in the different mounts. Like, you just have to cut them down to make them fit. And I went ahead and did this to mine too. I'm straightening this bar out and then built an air box, put everything in there, all the electronics go in the box. Use a 250R grab bar. So you can have that. This is nice. If you break it, you can just put a new one on it. Built a custom intake. This is a 45-degree boot. I don't remember what size it is on both ends, but I think this is 2-inch, and then this is like 1.5 inches or something. I can't remember. You could, like, I had to notch the frame down here, but I just slugged it with a solid piece of tubing, or yeah, just a solid piece of metal inside of here. And then I ground it until I could get the motor to fit, and then I TIG welded it solid everywhere where I ground. It's both sides. The other side's a lot worse. You have to take a lot out of the frame if you want to keep it low to be able to keep your factory tank. That was the only issue. But I have jumped this. I've rode wheelies everywhere on it. Had it up to 81, and it seems to be fine. So then on the oil tank, I bent the edges a little bit so it would go down into the frame. You have to raise it up and twist it into the frame forward so that the return line on it could go straight into the motor right here. And then your oil pump, your main line coming out of the oil pump, goes up and comes up into here. There's my choke cable. And I ran into the factory cooler for now with a Spall 4-inch fan. It moves quite a bit of wind for a little bitty fan. And then on this is a HMF full exhaust. You have to cut the ends off right here, about halfway back. I just mocked it up next to the 650 header and then cut off the excess so that it would slide in far enough to be able to get your, well, there, you have to cut those off too. And then you have to cut this pipe in half here And what I did is I took the extra pieces from here and here, welded them together, and they fit perfect to fill up that gap. Right there. But I used Inconel. I didn't know what else. I don't even know what these things are made out of. It's really hard to tell. Not like a PMI gun or something. Most of this is all stock. I need to rebuild this side of the control, or all the control arms need rebuilt. I got a little play in this one right here. And then I put the 450 Yamaha dual piston calipers on the front of it. You can kind of see them over there. If you smash on those, it'll throw you over the freaking handlebars. This right here with this pipe, I had to run the brake line back around this way because it can't go through there, and as you can see, it'll touch that every once in a while for this. So I gotta fix that still. I gotta move some things around to get the brakes set up right, which I mean they work, but it's kind of sketchy. That's been on there. I've been riding it for, I don't know, a couple months now, but I just kind of moved stuff around to keep it from melting. Had to build a little tab here because it doesn't have an adjustable bracket for the muffler. So that would be something that would help if I had a muffler that had the strap on it. And then on all the wiring harness, I didn't want to cut up the 650 wiring harness because they're like $300 if you want to buy a new one. So I just used the end that plugs in, like the male end and the female end, you know, vice versa from a 400ex and the 650 accessory. And I made a wiring harness in between the two connectors so I could just plug, like I could unplug this and plug it right back into a 400ex. Same with, well, the key I didn't. I just went ahead and just used the plug-in off the 650 onto that because it's a key. And then, like I said, I got the factory tank. I need to put the little plastic heat shield underneath it again. I took that off the other day. Freaking forgot to get one of the valve caps super tight apparently, and it came loose and spilled oil everywhere while I was going down the road. But I bored this to a 101, which is only a millimeter bigger, with 10.5-to-1 compression, wiseco. Took and drilled the rivets out of the head gasket and used the middle layer only. Ported the head. Put a whole nother set of washers under the valve springs to get a little more valve tension. And stock carburetor. I had to, like I said, I lost the dang little piece from my choke cable, so luckily I had another carburetor laying around with the same type of choke on it. But and then back here I took a stock 400ex bolt, swing arm bolt, and I tapped the ends and put a greaser in the end and put a bolt in the other end, and then drilled all the way through it in both ends and in the middle so that I have a greasable zert there to keep them bearings from locking up. I've had this at the Syracuse sand dunes. I took it out there when I was working in Garden City, Kansas, and it did really good, surprisingly. But it was mainly a test to make sure this frame would withstand all the twists and jumping in the dunes, and it did fine. I haven't had any problems out of it. So, but I would like to completely start over and build a whole new frame, you know, and have it powder coated and all kinds of stuff. But as of right now, with all the parts, because I went ahead and put all new Honda OEM parts in a lot of this, and I'm like 4,400 before buying the 400ex. So I think I gave $500 for this 05 bike. It was locked up in the bottom end, and then I just used the frame and swing arm, and I put a dual row carrier in it because the first thing it did was destroy a set of factory single row Honda bearings in the back. And then, yeah, it'd be nice to get everything powder coated and get a 2-inch longer swing arm. But like I said, I got all kinds of stuff for 400s, so I can kind of go through. And I took I have 450R shocks I need to put back on them, but I'm going to rebuild them because one of them for some reason is a little bit longer than the other one, so I'm thinking there's something wrong on the inside. And I have limited space to do a lot, and that's all 400ex stuff on that shelf. And then there's a shed full of frames and plastics and wheels and tires and all kinds of crap piled everywhere. But other than having to hack the frame to death, it really wasn't too bad. I mean, if you have any fabbing skills at all, I think the hardest part is making sure the chain is straight. That's the scariest part, because you don't want a chain coming off in your leg at 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour. So, and I like the little see-through oil filter thing. But other than that, it's gone pretty smooth, surprisingly. Let's see, I put the key in the reverse dill. See if it'll fire up.